And whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am. So hello there everyone, and welcome to the new video. It will be an addition to the purpose of the illumined union. I've made a video a while ago about the nature of the powerhouses or the power couples that are being held within the light of understanding of what illumined union truly is. This in truth is a continuation video about the deeper meaning within the sacred essence, so the essence purpose of the illumined union. Recently I've gone through quite an experience, and I've gotten this huge vast array of understanding as I've deepened my presence of the self in this body. So I've gone through an experience which felt almost like, entering deep into the core, into the vast deep of the inner self, and then this core just expanded more outwardly. And each time we go actually through this process is that parts of the self, which is the identity or personality we hold in this lifetime, they kind of like they're stepping aside, simultaneously they're being absorbed by this greater essence of the whole self. So as this process is unfolding, it can be quite intense for us, our human experience, for the body, because it's almost like these aspects feel like they want to finish up, they want to have they want to run their race, to the best possible extent, because there's still desires, things that need to somehow, from their perspective, be finished and fulfilled. When this part sort of surrenders, it enters this next step or the stage of this depth, this void, and it surrenders. And when the surrendering is complete, what happens is this greater absorption. And when I went through this experience, I actually saw a beloved vision because I asked for it. I asked for a vision that enhances the understanding at the next level. And I have been talking about the illumined union and teaching about this for quite a few years now. But each time I personally, in my own human body and experience, go through the next wave and stage of like encircling the self with greater illumined presence, it's like I expand in the vastness of understanding. So the knowledge becomes more and more universal. And it's kind of like the in-breath expands outwardly, becomes this out-breath of creation. And through each out-breath, which is a consequence of my in-breath or an in-depth core experience, I can birth a new level of this creation understanding. So I will talk about the purpose of illumined union. I will take you through my notes because I've been writing about the experience so that don't miss something, that don't leave it out of the equation. And I actually want to strengthen the emphasis of the understanding of the core purpose of what truly the illumined union at the pillar level is all about. And the vision that I've received was basically, it was beyond what most people understand this to be. And there's many levels and pathways of initiation. And at each level, you feel like, yeah, this is it. This is me. But the more you allow yourself to be absorbed in the great universal abyss of this all-mind, all-knowing, all-ever-present illumination, these aspects that feel, this is what they need, this is what they want, and if they don't somehow have that fulfilled, there's a greater reason, because they're entering into a greater space. Well, that will be fulfilled at this much wider level, depth of spirit, notion, and understanding in this form, not just archetypally. So I will give you a few basic understandings what I will be talking about, and then I'm going to go through my notes. I'm going to show you the next channel sketch, basically spirit drawing that I received, and I will also take you through the invocations. Okay, so the first thing to really understand this, again, I want to strengthen the emphasis by showing you the previous sketch again from before. As you can see, the mission of the pillar powerhouses or the power couples as formations of the two within one or one within two is their actual embodiment, which occurs through a natural magnetic increase through their vital life force cultivation, and as well eruption. So they're erecting this pillar of light. The pillar of light here in this sketch is not the descending pillar, right? We all talk about the white pillar of the ascension. This is the resurrecting pillar of light that they both create from the physical upwards. So this is the overlighting experience that, as you know, many masters, gatekeepers explain as, you know, having a halo around your head, being enlightened or illumined. But basically it's the erection of this pillar. However, in the mission of the illumined union, this occurs within a coupling formation, because the essentialization experience here of our life force is the process that acts as a gateway, a doorway to bring these codes of light into physical existence. And in the channeled writings, basically they're my diary notes from automatic writing. It talks about why this is so important, not just for the personal development of the being in this body, but as well as the development that our whole planet is now experiencing. So actually beings who are powerhouses or pillar couples, they're serving as very important formations of this coupling essence embodied on the planet because of the nature of magnetism, right? So I will explain this through my notes much deeper today. But the reason why I'm talking about this is also to emphasize again the level of importance of your own tantric life force cultivation work. As you know, I have prepared many courses to assist you along that process if you still feel you're kind of like at the beginning levels and you want to start somewhere. And I have a tantrical life force mastery course, as you know, on my page, and it's available through the section called mastery courses. Then I have these cosmic orgasm or sacred orgasm course, which talks about the sensualization of life force and taking it as a personal self-nourishment system, because it's so much to explain here. Because if you are a part of the team here who is kind of like catching these cosmic rays of activity and energies that are very strongly present at our current day and age, a lot of this electricity is moving through our bodies, and we need to become resonant matches. Our vibration needs to match that. So we are in desperate need, I will call it like this, to increase our body's magnetism, because people will just start complaining more and more how of a radical effect this has on their physical vessels. Myself, I noticed that if I don't do my life force cultivation work, practices that are very important, I'm going to mention a few at the end, but this is all in my courses, right? These practices have an instant effect because they will naturally recharge the body by staying resonant with the uprising magnetism, right? This is a natural understanding once you become a being of a high refined knowledge of magnetism. Right? So far, our idea here on this planet was gravity. Gravity, right, is the basic principal law. Well, at a very low three-dimensional level understanding, gravity is the idea or the norm, the basic standard that we kind of all apply ourselves through. And we feel that sort of governs our reality. But truly, this is not so, and I will explain again through the notes. But I want to say again that if I don't do these exercises, I will feel being drained and pulled downwards, and I will begin to feel very non-infatuated, almost like, you know, you have these inklings of feeling so tired you can't do the basic creativity channels, right, moving through you. You can't engage with that, and you will feel sort of depressed because you're lacking in that responsiveness. You're kind of like, you can't apply yourself through all that wants to come through you because the magnetic nature does not match this incoming stream of electric surges of light coming through. And they're coming through cosmic rays, solar activity, but mostly through, like I said, these processes were triggered. A lot of the higher beings that we are at various levels of creation, we've triggered them, and now we're being the responsive antennas, and we're drawing, we're pulling them in through our bodies. And if our bodies cannot do this work, they're sort of becoming like drained like sponges. We're not supposed to be sponges. We're supposed to be direct antennas and powerhouses of this transmission work. So in a nutshell, the essence or the core purpose of creation pillars, which is my mission, and the powerhouses that do this work together in unity, is this higher magnetic energy work. So if I don't do these practices, I will feel like my life force waning. And I had 1 month, over a month of resting period, because my body simply was put to sleep a while, because I had to catch up with my spirit, because my spirit is super fast and advanced. And I get bored during these sequences of these cycles, because I feel like I can't follow up through everything I really want to do, and it's already coming through. But the body sometimes goes a little to sleep, and at those times, also my life force is being withdrawn, and it's being used for internal processes of the body to revitalize the body after an upsurge of the cycle that I've put all my life force externally, outwardly, to start a creation of something, to seed life with something that became a result of this, of erupting this pillar of creation. So when I'm called to these cycles, I sometimes have resistance to it, and I don't want to be part of it. I want to be already creating something new. And this is natural. It's normal for us as human beings. We always want to, rush ahead. The next important thing is when you will be called again to this self-created upsurge of light through revitalization of life force, once again erupting it, there will be a strong calling that this cycle is now over. It's complete. It's like you come to the end of the extended ring circles and you want to move beyond it. This is how it feels. I will talk more about shadow light cycles integration in the upcoming, for this month of February, video course on Patreon for the advanced level, because I have 3 levels, right? The beginners, the medium, and the advanced level. So the advanced level gets courses mostly. And this will be an extensive course on the entire integration process. But here I want to talk about more this cosmic beloved mission within the increased magnetism that's very important for us. So recently I had this upsurge again, this calling. I felt I'm being called back, and I had to initiate this myself. There is no other way, and it can be very intense. So when this feeling of void sort of becomes the all-encompassing, everything from this cycle is sort of being looked at, and it's been all overseen, and every aspect and angle has been looked at, there will be a sense of, okay, now what, right? And this is like probably the most challenging stage, is this absorption phase. That's how Spirit calls it. And within this stage, there will be a strong indication to pull the life force. And for me, I got very intensive practices that I need to do now daily, and I was shown through Spirit. A lot of these practices also, I've seen Thought mentions them in the Emerald tablets. These are available on YouTube. There's a whole audio, around 3 hours long, audiobook version, and you can listen through. I do it many times because this is my very much grounding cord at this time. It helps me to really have this knowing what I'm doing and why I'm here for at the illumined level. So at the end, he recommends some beautiful practices about facing towards the north and then facing towards the south, and then holding the presence either in the upper or the lower part of the body. I won't talk about this because this is very much for the advanced students of Life Force Mastery. This is the teachings of the Master. So if you're guided or called to your soul, please either go and take my courses as initiatives to assist you in this process, or listen to this as is briefly described. It's not in detail, so your soul will have to have enough understanding to know what to do. So if I'm following something, I always know what this talks about when it's already, the knowledge is within me and it's for me. If it's not for you at this time, you will also know, because it will feel like empty and nothing coming through for you. Very important why this is, like I said, it's our bodies will get more and more drained and tired, and I've been kind of warning people about this for the past year. This last year, 2018, for me was all about life force cultivation and mastery practices. It was also a period within which I channeled all of these courses, and I made them available. One thing is knowledge, the other is the application of this knowledge, which becomes crystallized illumined wisdom if there is the right, correct pathway. Self-discrimination, determination, perseverance, and of course the integrity of the soul that accompanies all of these. So okay, why this is so important, I'm going to go through the channel part now. I'm going to talk about this, and I'm going to show you the next drawing. So I will read you from my notes what this was all about. You see my diary. And it's about basically the first step of this understanding is making space, right? So the making space part. Okay, so I've called this the making space because every time we engage at the new level of our expansion, making space becomes a priority. You cannot invite a new essence. There will not be anything precipitating towards and through you if space was not created. So recently I was feeling like I'm just watching or overseeing all of this process, and my old selves and my tendencies, old joys, everything was just all disappearing, and it was a bit scary, this process. But from this process, a greater knowing arose from the mission at the core essence level of the illumined union. So there was a sense here, a feeling that arose was a feeling of karmic completion. And a feeling of karmic completion, it doesn't matter, right, whether you are a soul that has been going through different lifetimes, or if you're a returning soul, a volunteer soul, because you had to imprint and you received these karmic inclinations through your DNA lineages, both maternal and paternal lineages. So here, a sense of karmic completion for a volunteer soul would be coming together in a roundabout circle through their familiar family patterns, right? So this sense of karmic completion that needs to be done, and how it is overseen through a higher level, was the understanding of absorption that came through. So this was the absorption of the being that came and absorbed these lesser selves that basically have forgotten that they're a part of this self in this human form. So the gradual release and then dissolution of these old energy patterns became available through this clearing and the overseeing process. So for me personally, the biggest issue, of course, was control. And when I go deep and I've seen that I've actually inherited this through the paternal lineage, right? This was a discordant energy. It was not held within the illumined, immaculate design of perfection. So we are clearing that in our DNA lineage or our stock. So only after doing this can we be able to bring in the full manifestation of the illumined body template and anchor deeply into the earth's seedling for the new human being, the new design and origin. As you know, I have a new illumined body template course. It now has an addendum, so it's a 5-hour course now, super huge. So now with this absorption and awareness of it, there comes a strange emptiness, which can be there present, which can make you feel like you're floating in space, not doing or needing even to do much. There's no more a sense of the need to do something certain here, which suddenly creates so much vast spaces and opens the gateway of the new energy potentials. There's such a strong sense of void, and with it, a sense of new choice, which feels more clear, full, and unconditional. When we're making choices from these aspects that still are a little scattered, they're not fully absorbed within the whole from this illumined essence, our choices will always correspond to the karmic choices, right? That eventually they will lead us to this completion. But within a sense of the overall or the overseeing presence within this completion where it's held, our choices will feel really, really coming from the illumined level of our being. They will no longer feel like I need to do this in order to complete this. A feeling is just, it's correct, because it's a drive, it's a pull towards you realizing that aspect of self. It's a call. Because like I said, if you imagine each aspect as a grain within a greater bag of sand, they have a feeling I need to complete my individual mission, because when I do, right, there's a purpose of my manifestation here. I will become aware of the greater self. You know, there's a great doctrine of illumination which talks about that when the whole is in itself, it's not aware of aspects of itself. It does not have a knowledge of the extensions of itself. And when the extensions of itself are aware of their self-knowledge of themselves, they're not aware of them as the greater whole. So either it's this and that, and it's normal. But now with this new choice for us, it is conditional for many, humans, because with this absorption now, a new sense of being will come along, something totally new and born from within. It's no longer born with the purpose to create this completion. In this, we can now feel as a new being that embodies this vehicle, and that an old previous sense of identity subsides, it kind of resides. But it is not gone as in going somewhere. This is not something you eliminate or eradicate. It is merely engulfed now in this greater, vaster presence of pure knowing and the essence of illumination. All the keys that lead there begin to gather as they're all being brought together to form one unified key of light. That key of light is the seed that contains all the necessary light keys as primordial seals of creation. I've talked about these before. They're the seedlings that are held within the whole as divine first primordial archetypes that have formulated our life in creation. So these seals of creation will unlock the gateway to a realization of the illumined union in human form, the birth of the illumined creation self as essence, but in man. So imagine essence, which is fully, totally ineffable, now felt, expressed as man, living, life of light, becoming the light of all lights. Now, a part of this void that then I experienced was the meditation where I channeled the second drawing, and I will show it to you. So first I will talk to you about what it represents, and I'm going to show you the image. So I was really strongly pulled towards within that day. It was such a strange feeling. Again, I felt like I'm being pulled, and I didn't want to do anything. It was like, do you want to do this? No, this, no. And this is strange for me because I'm so hyperactive and I do, like, you know, multidimensionally so many things at once, and I enjoy this. But at times of this absorption, it's almost like nothing else will exist but that. It's such a strong call. And when I was pulled towards within that day, it was so strong. And actually, even later afterwards, I was still questioning, is that, you know, was it really coming as a divine inspiration? And I got all these messages of angels bringing light, of awareness, of space being held, of feathers, of eight of wands, all of this type of energy. So I just knew, yes, you're okay. And I'll channel the drawing as well, because this is how I anchor and embody the energy. So I couldn't resist. And then in the image, I closed my eyes. It took a while, but then I saw me as expression of my illumined being and my beloved counterpart holding hands. And in between, when we were holding hands, there was a crystal ball. It was like big, almost like the size of our torsos. And it was a huge one, like a seeing visionary hologram. And in it was a vision, a picture of Earth. And we were looking at it, and we were with our hands like this. We were engulfing everything with our presence, and we were overseeing it. So we were looking at it together with hands locking in tight, and as we were holding them. So we were overseeing it and making choices as light beings. And then everything just started feeling more like an abstract voyage into the pure space. And some of the words I've forgotten later. It was very transcendental vision. It was so abstract. It was like a pure knowing, and a pure knowing, as you know, the unutterable truth cannot be spoken. But I will do my best to put it in a linear phraseology, I don't know, in a linear framework. I will put it as a sense of just seeing a little bit what that hints to. So it was definitely something about traveling to the very end of creation and the beginning of time. It was almost like to the beginning of time, to the far reaches, vastness of space. And there was a sense of the flower of life, right, which contains the essence and the 64 creation pillars. And overlooking it all, we were just overseeing it. And then there were some words about, you know, how that light needed to be brought forth through the highest reaches, right, the farthest reaches, sorry, of the time space. And why? Now, this is the understanding I wish to share now, but first I'll show you the image. So this is the image. Here is a little different than in my vision. But you can see two light beings holding the sphere. The sphere is an orb. There's an earth in between. There's light coming in, that light of pure wisdom, pure knowing. And they're simply lit. And the wings are the wings of the white butterfly that for me, it always comes as a manifestation of Holy Spirit. For me, that's the true liberation of creation and knowing of itself as illumined. So this is the important understanding why, right? Why then this desire for illumined beings to come into this reach here, right now, and the purpose, the core essence of the purpose. So Spirit was showing me that this high density is pulling, it's almost like calling for light. And there was this mission, right? There were words about changing the gravitational pull, which is this high density, towards the natural rhythm of magnetism, and how magnetic nature is self-emanating, right? It emanates, it beams, it's self-sustaining. So it's of the light quotient of purity, and it has therefore an automatic response as it's the affinity to light. Gravity does not hold within itself a natural affinity to light, but it is that which is being pulled by something else. So it's like densities clogging up. It's like piling up one on another and pulling, creating this pull, gravitational pull. So something being pulled by something else, and the density and sometimes even the heaviness, the draws of the density being expressed. So in all of this, there was a sense that the purpose of illumined union is to alter that dense nature of the gravitational pull, as you know, we have this on our planet now, into the natural magnetic nature of a refined state of pure essence. So these are essence level spirit marriages, right? And that is what we do and emanate here on this planet. Why this is also very important to add some things here. One is that, in case you don't know, but I'm sure you do, our magnetic pole, right? We have north and south pole nodes that are shifting, and they're shifting from our previous north pole right towards, I don't know, there's one Russia and Siberia. There's also one in Canada, and there's this talk about them splitting and becoming two. And downwards also in Australia, there's a very strong um, measurements also indicating these shifts, and people still don't know what they mean. We have to really dive deep into the core understanding, and this, for me, it's only when spirit can come in and give us the detailed illumined perspective of what's actually going on, because the human mind that is not the illumined mind, as many great teachers say, what we call the mind is not mind in truth. Mind is the great thought of the divine, right? That's why thought is called thought, because he is the archetype of divine intellect, divine mind. Word made, travels as truth. So in this vast voyage, right, we're traveling in this voyage of partial understanding, a lot of ignorance, and also inklings and seeds of truth. So for me, the highest absolute, no man can answer to me. So spirit directly will give the answers in divine time and order. But first you have to become the vessel emptied and purified of all ideas, ideologies, and even influences of that supposed knowledge, which is not truly refined knowledge of spirit from the outside. So now, on the outside, there's people who share all kinds of information, but most of them forget about the sacredness of when something travels. So when you're putting something out there, when you are sharing information, people take it so easily and lightly now. Everyone can say just about anything, and they're not even aware of the consequences, which can in turn create a lot of confusion, delusion, of course. And because of that, this just prolongs the process of humans turning towards within, turning towards the inner light of illumination, the spirit that lives in the spark of the flame of every man. Okay, of course, and woman, I'm not talking about gender here. But now I want to give some of the indications as well about the nature, right? Why is it so important to be in nature? You know me, right? Winter is my most challenging time of the year because, and I'm still outside. I'm walking all the time when I can. But I will be outside all day. When it's warm, when the days are long, I'm practically not at home. I live with my backpack. I go out. I'm a nature being. They're telling me why this is not just important, okay, commune with nature, because nature is the direct reflection of creatrix. It is the pure reflection of divine creation, not as man made it and distorted it in so many ways. And its absolute law is reflected through nature. So when you're in nature, you're contemplative in your design. You are aware of this contemplative nature. You become aware of the natural laws and principles that are indicated in nature's presence itself. That's one thing. But the other is because in nature, you are constantly increasing your magnetic nature. So one part is the tantric life force cultivation. The second part is beingness in nature, as man is of nature. The body is born of earth. So the more you are with earth in her natural shifts, you are seeding the earth with your shifts, and vice versa. So there's a direct influence between the two. So the mission here of the creation pillars, or divine pillar houses, powerhouses, is to, with the assistance of the earth, not as separate beings, they're erecting this and they're creating this pillar. It's almost like it becomes an archway, a gateway, when compiled with many who are doing this simultaneously. So the reason why, with this resistance to this magnetism, the magnetic nature shifting and heightening, some people will say, well, we're loosening our magnetic field around. Basically, the interpretation here is not as solid as it's truly seen as a metaphysical sense. The idea here is that everything that we've sort of experience in this cycle that has not tended to our ultimate growth in the perfection of light and form in man, actually is decreasing. It's losing its tendency as a creation aspect itself. So there's weakening of that, which does not serve the highest law of creation. So we might interpret that as, ooh, we're losing this, we're losing the magnetic field, but the sense of loss is because there's a higher overlighting presence that the earth itself is moving through, and this process is directly assisted through different cosmic rays. And when you do your work and you are being, right, same way, penetrated through these rays. I have another channel drawing, which you can see on my Instagram page. There is a heart as a cosmic essence. There's these rays coming in, and then the heart then translates these rays and makes them into potentialities for the new energy, which you can actually have an operational way of working with. Because if you don't know, if your body cannot maintain itself in the new energy, you will not be able to exist within it. The bodies that will not be able to exist within this new framework will cease to exist. They will either sicken or weaken to an extent that will become a hindrance to the individual who embodies this body they're in this moment. So this is so important, right? These two important things: life force enrichment, enlivening within the self, and the proper nourishment, which comes, right, with divine life, living liquid light, known as the divine food or mana, sustenance of the divine origin. And the other important thing why this resistance is now, how it operates, one of the ways Spirit shows me that is most horrific on the planet right now is the way they're intentionally killing off animals. If you don't know, I'm subscribed to many of these petition pages and I see what's going on from the overseeing perspective, but still. And the reason why this is occurring, because you have to understand animals from the shamanic perspective, they're put on each of these places around the planet. They're naturally magnetic. They're naturally sustaining the rhythm and pulse, the vibration. They're living with the earth. They're a part of nature. Man has kind of subtracted himself, become more of an artificial being than a being of nature, as you know. You can see results of this and how we go against the natural law by violating nature and its laws and principles. So in truth, the killing off of these animals is just weakening this, right, the life force, because animals bring also this very raw life force potency. And because of that, and because a lot of us overseeing this perspective from the upper realms, we've seen the potentiality of this happening. So we sort of came here to serve as midwives to this process of increasing this magnetic nature. Okay, so now I'll talk about this void, right? The swimming through this vast new space. And sometimes in this void, you will feel like maybe partially that you can't feel the beloved. You can't feel this as an essence within you. The most important thing here to understand is that the beloved is truth. It's not felt here. It's not in the mind. Most people will talk about the beloved and the union as the idea they have, and it's mental. The beloved has to be felt in the heart mostly, and then the body. The true beloved, the illumined union, is not possible if the beloved is not felt in the body. And that is the sensualization of life force. It is also the sexualization of it. This is not the word sexuality as most people would define it. This is the most purified essence of sexuality, which is pure living light of creation. It's creativity flowing on the wings of your life force, basically. So when I do these exercises, it's amazing because it's like my whole birthing pot of everything just is totally enlivened. I can feel particles moving within me. It's like it's all spinning, and it becomes, I turn into one great vortex of light. If I don't do that, it's the opposite, because we need to sustain it. We are here sustaining these bodies through our consciousness. So when our bodies are sustained through life force in an embodied way, it's a totally different principle than when you have an idea of love. And mostly, in most people, it's an idea born of conditioned romantic love, an idea of romantic love, which is still so limited. And it's really not, it's not coming from this great depth of this creation love that a lot of us knows and carries within our sacred hearts. So the heart is very important as a gateway, because through the heart, it's like a cosmic hub. We have a cosmic heart essence. Our heart is not just physical, but it has to be awakened to a higher heart level through our physical heart ascension. And then the heart can channel these cosmic rays, and it will know how to interpret them, and then it will move through the body. And then the life force cultivation process is a natural byproduct, a result of that. It needs to accompany the process. So here I'll talk about this void of clearing. I've recently experienced this. I was trying to watch something, and it was a movie, and there was something in terms of romance there. And I remembered how in the past I could feel like how romantic love and idea of it can bring a sense to the human being of this longing, like pining for, and you want this and you want this in your life. But all I felt is when I watched this was like nothing. I couldn't feel anything. And for a while I thought, wow, am I becoming so desensitized? What's a part of this? And then I meditated, and Spirit said, no, but you're actually really now ready to your body to be fully susceptible to this living life force, which brings, it's coming in the body and bringing in this divine love without these filters that actually just hinder a natural process, right? So a huge portion of romantic love occurs in the mind, with programs triggering responses in the body. You will feel like the body's response is natural, but it's a chemical reaction that is, of course, a component of the mind triggering that response, because it's all connected and it's all born from the mind. But when the mind is cleared and it enters into a higher octave of itself, it will trigger different responses in the body. They will not be automatic. They will be self-created. That's why I talk about beings being self-born. You're no longer creating living life existing through these filters. So perhaps a new response should come from the body itself directly as an impulse of the light held within the body as the seed of life, the living light quotient. Yes, the body is changing. It no longer wants to be held captive by the mind. It wants to be free, sovereign, and independent, self-governed. It wants to send out illumined thought waves that are born of the essence level. The old ideas and fantasies are no more. And if you're experiencing that, all I tell you is bravo, congratulations. Nothing is wrong with you. So the body has successfully freed itself at this stage, and it has begun to shine its own light as the illumined body, which is the gateway into illumined union partnership. So that's the next stage. You need to do this within your own self first. You are the framework. You are the origin of that. You are the living waters of life. So the body knows exactly what it's doing in the process. Trust shall light the path along the way into the fulfillment of the brightest day. So these were the ending parting ways from Spirit. I love these words. And I think it's a beautiful process. I will show you once more this sketch, right? Sorry, we had sunshine and now it disappeared, and it's winter time, so it is what it is. And now I wish to share another gift with you from my channeled Divine Love notebook. These are the seeds of love for the new, and these are two very important invocations. The first one is to feel the beloved is in the body. If you will try to call in and visualize, for many of you it won't work. For me, no, nada. It doesn't exist anymore. It's like it's not accessible. But when I do the life force exercises, I feel the beloved. I feel the cosmic beloved. This is what it is. This is the essence of it. This is the living manifestation of that divine promise, which you vowed yourself to when you remember. So the first one is a beloved embodiment invocation. The second one is a calling for life force, okay? And we will read both, and that's my gift to all of you. It will be much more in detail in terms of the initiations we walk through, light shadow cycles, like I said, in the Patreon video content for this month for the advanced level. Cosmic orgasm course is super recommendable here for this work. It is so potent, so powerful with the cultivation practices, as well as life force mastery training program, and of course my Cosmic Beloved course. It's on my Beloved section of the page. So now let's read these invocations, and I invite you to join me in the sacred space in the circle of light known as Spirit. Beloved embodiment. My dear one and only, the light of all lights, I ask for my body to know your delights. May the splendor of life force move through my spine, awakening every center with love divine. May divine ecstasy be yours and mine, our bodies awakened, filled with radiant light. Our form be illumined until the end of time. Come into my body and dwell there forever, always as the seed of life, in ascended presence moving beyond time. So here you can actually feel the calling. The calling is from the body. The body needs to be strengthened and aligned with this electricity, magnetism as principles of creation as one. Sacred feminine essence of creation, sacred masculine essence of creation. This is not held at the individual level. Okay? This is not man as in gender form. This is man as aspects of creation that made man in the first place. So the life force invocation is to reinvigorate yourself with the knowing that life force is what creates through you. You are the life force. And at this level, I have a beautiful final 13 synthesis course called The Embodiment of Elohim Consciousness, which is that seed of life and illumined creation. So you can also find that in my mastery courses. Now let's read this. The life force invocation. I'll use the other hand now. Beloved spark of life within my being, moving through my veins and blood, keeping me alive, animating my soul, that I may feel internally whole. The giver of life force, the breath divine, in every living blood crystal awaken the power of mine. My body and soul, the carry of your essence, and enlivened spirit for my body to own. And so be it, and so it is. If I've forgotten anything, I will always share it in the next update, but it is what it is. I hope you will join my Patreon for more information. I have also made many beloved messages coming through there, as I do readings there now for my group, and I bless you with so much radiance, so much invigorating life force. May you join this path of, illumination. It doesn't matter. Everyone is moving towards that trajectory. It doesn't matter whether you're very beginning stages of this understanding or not. Everyone basically has to start somewhere, and it doesn't have to be overwhelming. All you have to do is take that first step. So I invite you into the living light of illumination. Oh, also, I forgot to say in the previous video when I talked about the powerhouses and the power couples, I actually was also referring to one channel where I've seen this beautiful video with this channeled, a very automatic, beautiful representation of this that also triggered my own automatic channeling and awareness. So I've shared the channel underneath that video, but I didn't mention it because, as you know me, I'm so into what I talk about, and then I kind of get too hyper and I talk so fast. So the channel I was referring will be down in the link below. It's a beautiful being sharing interesting content if you're interested. It's more in the type of readings, but it's very interesting. Okay, so the channel is called Mana, and I'm really sorry I didn't mention it the first time, but I always share something what resonates. But remember, everything you receive, always contemplate on it, always meditate on it, because your first origin of life and that spark is you, and it comes therefore through you. I greet you with divine love, wisdom, and power as always. Take care, and in Illumined Union, we are one. See you.